I've said it many times before. I think that TikTok is a horrid platform. I think that the idea of short form content basically blasted at you at the speed that TikTok does so is essentially the best way to spread breakneck bullshit propaganda to a population. And in many cases, it can be very, very dangerous. Andrew Tate has basically proliferated through TikTok. The right has basically proliferated through TikTok in a way that I honestly don't know if it's possible for the left to. You see, the adage has always been the right is good at short, quippy lies that force the left to engage in long-winded, detailed debunks of said lies. Guess what political party in this scenario, TikTok, a short-form media platform that sensationalizes or that prioritizes sensationalizing content, might push just by, a consequence of the algorithm? What political bias do you think might become prevalent when that is what your algorithm is based around, and that is the basic formula for conservative propaganda? The right, obviously. But we're not talking about the right on TikTok today. We're actually going to be talking about, well, I'd hardly even call this the left. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to call this the left. I'm going to call this a woman moment. This is a certified woman moment is what we're about to see. No, in all seriousness, there are a lot of awful people out there. A lot of awful people. Believe it or not, revolutionary take you're about to hear, that awfulness does not care about your race, sex, gender, ideology, sexuality, or anything like that, all right? So many people of all different races, creeds, everything are pieces of shit. Just absolute monsters. Complete, horrible human beings. Here's the thing, though. People can be stupid. They can have one or two experiences with one or two people from a certain group, and those experiences can pretty much dictate their opinions of said group. Now, the most common example of this is actually positive. You see, there are actually numerous studies, large studies, that show undoubtedly and arguably that people actually form parasocial relationships, much like you guys have with me, or you may have with any celebrity or large public figure, with fictional characters. And that said parasocial relationships trigger very similar mechanisms in our brain that real relationships do. Real friendships. As you can imagine, this means that consuming a well-rounded diet of media that contains non-white, non-straight, non-cis, whatever characters essentially does have not exactly the same, but a fairly similar effect to actually having friends of that group in real life. It starts to destigmatize that group in your mind. It starts to melt away your ignorance and possibly even your bigotry. But it can also work the other way around. Specifically when it comes to real life and internet culture. You see, there are some weird areas of the internet, particularly on Twitter and TikTok, where it seems like women come together to celebrate each other abusing men, particularly men that they're in relationships with, men that want to be in relationships with them, or like men they're friends with, right? So it may be like women congratulating each other on like using a guy for some, purposes, or it may be what we're about to see. What we're about to see is pretty fucking monstrous. And for God's sakes, do not take the advice that you are about to hear. Let's go ahead and take a look at this TikTok.
I thought you'd never ask. So basically, if you're staying over at his place or he's staying over at yours, you would set a bunch of alarms for the middle of the night in advance with your ringtone. So like, if it's an...
At first, I unironically thought this is like, oh, okay, so if you're like staying the night at like some guy's house because you had a one night stand and you want to make sure you have an easy out, like to get an excuse to leave if you feel uncomfortable, setting Like, I thought the advice was for like getting an excuse to leave, like an easy out, like if you don't have someone to call you, and do like the, oh hey, I need you to come over quick, oh I know where you are, like, hey, come over quick, like that whole thing. That's not what this is. It stopped. It derails fast.
iPhone, it's probably the default like dun, 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 or however it goes. I don't. The default sound when someone's phone's ringing. You would make that the alarm tone so that he'll think that your phone is ringing in the middle of the night and someone's calling you over and over again, like an ex or another guy that you could be seeing. And then when he asks who's calling you, you just say like, oh, it's no one, just go back to sleep. Make him feel stupid and crazy and jealous. Oh, another thing you can do is change all of your friends' names in your phone to guys' names. Like, I'll change my friend Kelsey to Kevin, and I'll change Nicole to Nick. And then I'll text them all and be like, hey, what's up? And then I'll plug my phone in another room. And then when he gets up, be like, oh, can you bring me my phone? So that he'll see a bunch of boys' names texted me. He'll be yours forever.
She finished it off by saying, he'll be yours forever. What that was basically a woman describing how she likes to gaslight men she's in relationships with to make them feel as though they are in constant competition with other men that are constantly like kind of hoarding over like vultures, waiting for like a weakness to come in and take your girl. It's a very common like toxic dynamic that like a lot of like young people on TikTok will push as like normal in the dating scene. Like, oh yeah, it's completely normal to have like 50 guys hounding your girl ready for you to slip up so she can cheat on you. Like, yeah, that's just how things are. I see these TikToks and I would see this shit on Vine and I'd be like, dump your girlfriend if this is how your relationship works. What the fuck? Anyway, this video in particular was basically just an abuser going mask off and describing how she abuses men she's in relationships with, and being congratulated for it and like, chuckling about it and having fun with it with other women online. As you can imagine, this is not a woman thing. This isn't like a thing that women do to fuck with men. This isn't like, this is fucking women, fucking femoids, obviously. I started this segment by saying that being a horrible, repellent piece of shit, well, it's not exclusive to gender, sex, race, whatever, right? Everybody can be an asshole. And that's what we're seeing here. Unfortunately, you'll recall that I mentioned that positive representation in media can have a positive impact on people's biases towards certain groups. That also works the other way around. You see, have you guys ever watched Fox News? I mean, like, really watched Fox News. Torture, absolute torture. But, like, actually sat down and subjected yourself to that shit. Anytime they discuss a crime committed by specifically black men, you notice how they always use the word thug? And you notice how it's like 80% of the crime they cover on there is like low-tier crimes being committed by black men that they just inexplicably will call thug, 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 thug. That's their go-to word. It's a dog whistle. I mean, I think we all know that, but that's not what this video is about. What it's about is the constant feeding of videos of black people committing crimes that Fox News feeds their mostly white viewer base. They don't really need to make an argument in favor of racism if they just feed a biased, nonstop video feed of, like, black people committing crimes. And there's, a lot of black people in existence, so, especially in America, so obviously someone commits a crime every single day. There's also a lot of white people doing it. There's actually more white people doing it. A lot of people will then decide, all right, this is what that group is now. Whether they realize it or not, maybe it's internal, maybe it's an internal bias or like a internalized bigotry. They'll decide, deep down, that is what this group is now. And anybody who now breaks that mold is an exception. Eventually, that constant stream of anecdotes becomes that person's reality. And anything that steps outside of that mold that they've been fed is an exception, not an argument against their bias. One of the good ones, if you will. Yeah, Garmek. This effect has been very successful for the misogynist community in the TikTok sphere. Andrew Tate, no doubt, is so successful because when you see an Andrew Tate TikTok pop up on your timeline about how women are bitches that want to use and manipulate men, there's a non-zero chance that 15-year-old boy who really feels like he should have lost his virginity already and women are horrible bitches for not doing so already, there's a good chance that he saw this TikTok right before Andrew Tate popped up in his feed. And what do you think? If some 15-year-old white boy sees this TikTok pop up in their feed and then sees Andrew Tate basically ranting about this exact same thing, only claiming it's all women that have this problem, or the majority of women who have this problem, how effective do you think that propaganda from Tate is going to be? Extraordinarily so. You see, TikTok, in its elevation of the most sensationalist content, seems to elevate left-wing, and as I said, I struggle to call what we just saw left-wing content, but I'm sure TikTok's algorithms would categorize it as such. The left-wing, quote-unquote, content that is most likely to be boosted by TikTok is shit like that. And the right-wing content most likely to be boosted by TikTok is stuff like Andrew Tate responding to exactly that. It creates a perfect cycle of, oh, you got on TikTok today and you're scrolling through your little feed? Okay, well, here's a video of a woman talking about how all men are rapist pigs. And then you can scroll and see a guy, with sunglasses and a bunch of guns behind him talking about how all women are bitches who think men are sexist pigs and rapists. And how, it's not true and women are pretty awful for thinking that. It's the perfect cycle. Every time you get on TikTok, you're just getting crazy lefties being signal boosted, or crazy lefties, right? If you even call this lefty, followed by a seemingly reasonable debunk of that very insanity. It's a lot like 2016 YouTube, isn't it? Back when videos of humongous what, that one feminist lady video was literally blowing up on YouTube. That unironically, Big Red and that lady might have been the most listened to feminists of that year. The years that those videos went up, they might have been the most listened to feminists of those years. So YouTube starts boosting content like that, so that becomes the representative of the left. Even though Big Red wasn't even wrong, if I'm being honest. If you actually go back and watch what she was saying and cut through she's yelling and triggered or whatever, she wasn't wrong. Regardless, though, when that becomes what people think of when they think of the left, and when all of the right-wing content are seemingly well put together debunks of that, it's very obvious where people are going to end up. And I mean, look at 2016, 2017, look at 2014 to 2018 YouTube to see what happened. And look at 2021 to now YouTube to see what's happening once again because of TikTok. Just look at TikTok, frankly. Anyway, with all that said, if you enjoyed this segment, please consider leaving a like down below. It really helps out the channel. It's completely free, and it basically forces YouTube to push my content to brand new people. You can also comment down below for an even greater effect, as well as subscribe during the bell icon to make sure that YouTube tells you when I go live or upload any new content, because trust me, they won't do so otherwise. Also, you can follow my social medias, all linked down below in the description, including my Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, fan Discord, and you can also buy some merch from me, linked down below through, I think it's Streamlabs. Yeah, we got some special Zan merch. It's pretty pretty puggies if you want to get some Zan merch for Christmas, maybe. You can also support me financially if you got the money for it and donate it for anything else to my website, xanderhall.com/live. Or you can support me financially on YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, or Patreon. But with all that said, no matter how you support me, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.